It's me, Viola, and welcome back to Behind the Scenes. Sorry, I forgot I had that in there. What I was saying was, it's me, Marmalade, and welcome back to Behind the Scenes. And we have made it all the way to episode 10 of RuPaul's Drag Race UK Series 7. And I don't know how it has flown by, but we are at the finale. We have had all 10 episodes of RuPaul's Drag Race UK, which means you are getting your 10th episode of Behind the Scenes. This is certainly not going to be the end of Behind the Scenes. Stay tuned to the end of the video to find out more about that. But I have grown attached to the season and the runways. There's something so fun about following the Queen's fashion journeys and seeing how they've planned their runway package. And I am sad to see it come to an end. But before we jump into it, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of you who have joined me. The response to this series has been so much bigger than I was anticipating. And I was thinking of a way to pay you all back for your generosity. And I have come up with something that I think you're going to love. So last year, I came out with my 2025 calendar. It featured all of my runway looks from Drag Race UK Series 6. That's my headpiece one. And the response to that when it came out was incredible. And I thought, I want to do another one again this year. However, I couldn't think what the angle was. And through doing this series, I thought, I have gone behind the scenes on all of these girls' runways, but there is one person who I am yet to go behind the scenes on, and that is myself. So I introduce to you the 2026 Marmalade Behind the Seams calendar. That's right, it is once again a calendar filled with some of my most iconic looks. However, this time I'm taking you behind the seams on my looks. So it includes not only the final looks, it includes illustrations of the looks, photos from the construction process, photos from the fitting process. There's some of my most iconic Drag Race looks in there, but there's also some of my most iconic looks from outside of the world of Drag Race, including my Guinness World Record look, which is very exciting. It's very special. Me and the team at You Better Merch have worked very, very hard on it, and I can't wait for you all to be able to get your hands on it. So I will drop the link down below, but that is just a little gift from me to you to say thank you so much for tuning in every week and supporting me. With all of that said, I think it's time to get into the episode. My name is Marmalade, this is RuPaul's Drag Race UK Series 7 Episode 10, and come with me as I take you behind the seams. So the runway category for this week is, of course, Grand Finale Extravaganza. I think they had a different name for it on the episode, which I can't remember, but it's Grand Finale Eleganza, which we all know. And I always say, this is probably the hardest category you have to do. Because just imagine this, you're getting ready for Drag Race, your mind's going in a million different directions, you've got all these runways to prepare for, but each of these runways you've got a prompt, and that sort of guides you down the path of what your inspiration is going to be for that runway. However, with Grand Finale, it's just bring us your best. And that is really hard to figure out and to know what is my best. So it's very difficult. Usually when this episode comes out, people say, oh, I'm disappointed by the finale of runways. And it happens every single year because it is very, very difficult to sort of figure out. For me, the direction you go in for your finale is the epitome of what your drag is. You sort of walk in the workroom in a quintessential outfit of yours, through the competition, show your range, and I think the finale is sort of the return to form of the core of your drag, but at the most grand level. So I'm very much looking forward to getting into the runways and seeing what each queen thinks the epitome of their best drag is. First to the runway, we have the pork chop of the season. It is Pasti, and Pasti is wearing an outfit designed by Mocha Drag Queen and made by Folks Atelier. And Pasti has gone for this big business, boss lady outfit. And straight off the bat, I am so pleased we got to see this from Pasti, because Pasti's last runway was her design challenge, and I don't imagine that was sort of how she saw herself sort of going out visually on the runway. And I really love this. I love any sort of office wear suit wear that's sort of tailored into a gown. Suits have so many different factors to play with. I love the shoulders on this. I love the tie, the print on the dress. I also really love the color palette. I love the hair, this tall ginger Marge Simpson sort of hair. Feels like very signature Pasti. And I really love the touch of whimsy with the hat on top of the wig. I do think the hat maybe could have been slightly bigger. However, I do think the fact that it is a very regular sort of man's hat is also quite comedic. I love drag queens coming out with like a bag or a clutch, and there's something about a suitcase specifically which I just really love. It just feels so powerful, and I love that she has matched the pattern of the suitcase to the pattern of the outfit, and I also love all the money coming out of the suitcase. I'll be honest, I don't really need the money that's coming out of like the breast cups. She has enough campiness and whimsy and humor in this outfit that just distracts from the beautiful tailoring of the dress. I noticed there was some slight funniness with sort of the pattern matching. However, I do think with a dress like this, it's very difficult to do that without it being super noticeable. So I can give her a pass on that. But overall, I would say this is a very, very strong look for Pasti. It is easily the best look we've seen from her. And for me, this is the perfect grand finale eleganza for Pasti. So gorgeous, gorgeous job, Pasti. Mwah. Next up, we have Viola, and Viola is wearing a dress by Get Frocked UK, also known as my sister, Chanel O'Connor. Yes, this is the second outfit Chanel has had on this season. She is such an incredible tailor. Just looking at this outfit, you can tell it is so beautifully made. I really love the colour for Viola. I love the way the collar sort of comes to a point. I think that's like a really interesting shape, but still feels sort of vintage and referential. I love the way the hem's done as well. There's sort of this like gathered bubble hem which flows really beautifully behind her on the runway. There was this small peplum at the waist which when she first came out I didn't think I was going to love. However, as she came forward and I sort of looked at the outfit as a whole, I really, really enjoyed it. The base of this outfit is a catsuit, which was sort of surprising for me. I did think it was going to be a dress, and I can't figure out whether I would have preferred it to be a dress or not. Like, just thinking if this was like a sort of a pencil skirt to the floor type of silhouette with like a big slit in the back, that would have felt for me maybe more grand finale than trousers. However, I don't mind the trousers. I do wish these trousers were a more tailored fitting trouser, just because the skirt itself is so voluminous. I just would have liked less volume in the trouser. Also, I really love the ginger hair on her. Ginger isn't always the best hair colour to wear with red, just because they're sort of colours that are next to each other, so they don't always go perfectly. However, I really love it in this case, and also on Viola, this hairstyle feels very signature. So I am really getting like a signature Viola finale look head to toe. It isn't the most inventive look. It is very much like a go-to pretty finale outfit, but I think that is more than serviceable for the category. Oh, and you know what? I don't mind the necklace. I think the necklace can stay on this dress. I like it. Gorgeous job, Viola. Next to the runway, we have Nyon Bella, and Nyon Bella is wearing a dress she made herself, and she has gone for this Union Jack Queen of Britain dress. And you know what? After the design challenge, I didn't know that Nyon Bella had the ability to sew. For someone who maybe doesn't sell themselves as like a sewer, I think this is a very impressive gown. It is a very fitting finale gown silhouette, which I am very impressed by, so very well done, Nyon Bella. I like the way the flag is positioned on her body. A lot of the times when you see Union Jack outfits, they don't align that middle line with the waistline, and she's positioned that nicely. I also like that the rest of the outfit is just a blue. She hasn't tried to sort of do the Union Jack all the way to the floor, where it starts to feel like a patriotic costume. I will say, whilst I am very impressed that she has made this, she is having some construction issues. The lines on the Union Jack aren't perfect. The lines on the top and the bottom of the corset aren't sitting completely smoothly. I like the way that she's done this 2-layered bubble hem. I think it just needs to be fuller so you get the full effect of this sort of a silhouette. I like that she's incorporated those shapes up to the arms. It's nice that that's sort of carried through and she has volume up here as well as on the bottom. And I really enjoy the hairstyle sort of cascading down the back. I love the sort of circular shapes. Maybe it could have done with some sort of headgear, headpiece or something, just because from the front you don't see the sort of the ponytail going down. So it just looks very flat on top compared to the volume she has everywhere else in the outfit. And again, I don't mind the necklace. I really like the neckline of it, and because she has cut it so low, it sort of gives space for a necklace to work really nicely. There are some slight fit issues around the top. However, overall, I am very impressed that Nyon Bella has made this, and I think it is a beautiful showing for her at this grand finale. Next to the runway, we have Chai T. Grande, and Chai is wearing a Thai dancer-inspired outfit made for her by Luke Mann. And straight off the bat, I love that Chai came out barefoot. It's something you wouldn't expect to see at a grand finale, so it like instantly made her stand out because it goes along with the style of outfit that she's wearing and her Thai culture that she's referencing. I feel like it was like a really bold choice that made you feel instantly drawn to it. I will admit I do not know very much about Thai dance costumes, so I did do a little bit of research before, but of course it is not my place to comment on how well this sort of meets that criteria. However, I think it is overall a very visually beautiful outfit. I love the fabric she's chosen. Red and gold complement each other really well, and I also love where she's placed the fabrics. I really love the asymmetrical cape that flows off the one shoulder. I like that bit of drama. Also, I really love this wig on her. The shape of this wig and the style of this wig suits her so beautifully. There are a few things I would point out. The waistline seems ever slightly too high, but not like high enough that it feels intentional. I would have just liked to drop it a little bit. And whilst I love the drape off the back, the drape across the front, this side, it feels a little bit tacked. I would have liked for that to have been placed slightly more delicately and intricately. But other than that, I really enjoy it. I really love how she styled it. And I think hands down this is the most beautiful Chai has looked all season. And I feel like everybody says this. I love on Drag Race when people bring their culture. I love getting that sort of look into styles that maybe I wouldn't have seen before. Like, for example, I was Googling Thai dance costumes today and yesterday, which I have never looked into before. So even I get to learn something I wouldn't have before. So I think this was a gorgeous presentation from Chai. Very well done, Chai T. Grande. Mwah. Next, we have Sally TM, and Sally TM is wearing an outfit by It Spain with a bodysuit and gloves that she made herself. Sally has chosen to reference, I think she said it was like an early drag look she did. I really appreciate sort of referencing where you started with drag. It kind of makes your whole drag journey feel very full circle. Straight off the bat, I love the colour palette she's gone with here. Sally has been so clever all season long with mixing like colours, textures, and particularly like bright neon colours. This dress is elevated so much by the neon green that's underneath it. It really shows her point of view and her USP. For example, I love this wig and I love the sort of the stripes up the side are done in a neon green. I really love the gloves. I like the bodysuit underneath and I love the zebra print boot cover that comes up to the knee. All of that like pairing together is really fab. And that's something I really love about Sally. Her drag doesn't feel all purpose made. It feels very curated. And I really enjoy that. I do wish the dress had a bit more structure in some places. Like, I love the ruffles at the bottom. However, if you look at the ruffles sort of waist to sort of just below her crotch, they're not sitting as sort of like effortlessly and like gorgeous as the ruffles on the bottom. I wish the middle of the garment had the same sort of fun and whimsy that the bottom part of the garment had. However, that being said, the ruffles at the top I also really enjoy. So I think it's just that sort of the midsection of the dress could have been like played with a little bit better just to make it feel more organic. I think that's the word, organic. But overall, I have been such a big fan of Sally's runways this season, and I'm so glad we got to see another one. You know, this wasn't exactly what I was expecting from Sally's grand finale, but it was a very pleasant surprise, and I really enjoyed it from her. So very good job, Sally. Mwah. Next up, we have Paige Three, and Paige is wearing an outfit by Malon Fashion and a catsuit by Joshua Hansler. And like her name suggests, Paige has gone for a newspaper concept. I love the black, white and red colour story. It's like that riddle, what's black, white and red all over a newspaper? I also love how the skirt was constructed. It had so much structure, yet it felt light as air. I love that you could like see through it. A slight issue I am having with this, it does feel very bulky overall. I think I just wish at like the waist hip area we could have lost a bit of the volume so that we had the sort of the jutting out effect of the skirt and then it came in really nice and tight, so we got a sense of her silhouette. I also don't know if this sort of high collar was the right choice for a dress like this. The bottom feels very free and whimsical, and it moves beautifully. That the structured collar, I don't know if I love. It's not my favourite compared to the rest of the outfit. With that all being said, I loved the way it moved. I think she looked so beautiful in it, and I could really see how this was like the final evolution of a drag artist whose name is Paige Three. I just guess I wish the dress read more like a dress. At the moment, I'm sort of getting out of wear coat silhouette, and I think I maybe would have just liked more of like an elegant dress. For example, the way that you have those folds in the bottom of the skirt, if it was like a strapless gown with like folds like coming up and around, I think that would have had the regal finale gown appearance. However, it has been no secret, I've been a very big fan of Paige and her fashion all season long, and just like Sally, I am so glad we got to see another one of her incredible looks at the finale. So congratulations on a gorgeous season, Paige Three. I'm a fan. Mwah! Next to the runway we have Bonnie and Clyde, and Bonnie is wearing an outfit by the Drag Room, and Bonnie has gone for this star-themed evening gown, which feels very fitting for a grand finale. This is very much like a go-to drag silhouette. It doesn't sort of break new ground or do anything surprising. However, this is such a great example of cabaret drag performance gown. It not only fits her perfectly, the shape of the shoulders, the way the nude illusion comes across the front, the density of that like sequin fabric, the rhinestoning, it feels like such a pro drag queen outfit. So for Bonnie, who is the pro of the group, this is like a beautiful way to end the season for her. I also really love the hair. It doesn't feel like a literal star. And I also love that it's sort of shaped like a crown. I do think the front of the dress was ever so slightly too small. I just remember seeing her feet. And with a dress like this, you don't really want to be able to see the shoes. However, the train at the back, I really love. I don't know if I necessarily needed these smaller silver stars that are on the nude portion. I think that space could have just been filled with sort of the other interesting like bits of rhinestoning. However, that is a small detail because this is just such an elevated look. I also love the way that the nude edges have been sort of diffused with the rhinestone. So yes, certainly not reinventing the wheel with this one, but it is gorgeous and she truly looks phenomenal, and she looks like the pro she is. Fabulous job, Bonnie. Next up to the runway, we have Teras Manardi, and Teras is wearing an outfit by Freddie Eneva in collaboration with Ingrid Heskett. I hope I've pronounced those names correctly. Straight off the bat, I really love this for Teras. This feels like such an elevated grand finale version of Teras. Starting with the corset, it has been masterfully constructed. It fits her so perfectly. I love the shape of the points as they come up. I also love on the hip, it doesn't like hug to her hip shape. It sort of shoots out, which nicely mirrors the top. I also love this scooped neckline with the visible cups. Teras, you better be very happy with this corset piece, because that is a gorgeous bit of drag to own. The points of the corset did wobble slightly as she walked. It wasn't a big issue. Where the lines of the corset are positioned, there isn't a line of boning going up to the point. Therefore, that wobbling is going to be a little bit inevitable. However, maybe a bit more wire just in the edge of the point maybe could have stopped that. However, it wasn't super noticeable. I just picked up on it. I love the silhouette of this skirt. I think it is so regal. The construction on it is so beautiful. To get that shape is not easy, and it has been done masterfully. I do think maybe the fabric for the bottom is a little bit too shiny just for TV. It's a very unforgiving fabric as far as like wrinkles are concerned. However, that is a small detail because I think she looks gorgeous. I really love the gloves on her as well. A sort of mesh opera-length glove I'm always gonna love. Maybe I'm turning a corner on necklaces, you know, because I have liked all the necklaces I have seen so far, including this one. So overall, I think this is a fabulous job by Teras. It feels like such an elevated version of Teras, which is what this sort of a category is all about. And given all of the outfits we've seen from her, a lot of her style is very streetwear, which I really love. However, for this, I'm so glad that we're getting to see that sort of evening gown version of what Teras looks like going to the Met Gala, for example. And I think it is gorgeous. So very good job, Teras. I love it. And now we're on to the top 4, starting with Bones. And Bones is wearing an outfit by Malon Fashion. And you know, Malon has made so many outfits for this season. I truly do not know how he does it. All of them have been incredible. So first of all, incredible job, Malon. I am in love with this outfit from Bones. I love when she came out and she immediately threw the capes. Just the visual impact of that straight off the top was so beautiful. I love the armor feel of this. It feels like armor, but it doesn't feel too heavy and thick. I love the sort of the ribbed piping detailing that's going around all of the bodice armor pieces. I love the shoulders. I love that it sort of shoots out just above the hip. I think that's a really interesting place to accentuate. I do think it could be a touch tighter on the waist, but that might just be my own sick obsession with cinched corseted waists. And another thing I love about this is the hair. You see a lot of drag queens trying to reinvent wigs, and a lot of times you find that it feels very forced and overdone and trying too hard. This hair feels so refreshing and new, but yet it stays so sleek. It doesn't feel like it's rehashing an old drag trend, and I love it. It is so interesting. It is so fitting for Bones and for the vibe of the rest of the outfit. I'll say, hands down, this is my favourite Bones look of the season. I think she looks phenomenal. I just love it. I really love it. And spoiler alert, it is very befitting of a Drag Race winner. So incredible, incredible job, Bones. It has been an honour seeing all of your fashions all season. Next up to the runway, we have Katrin Feelings. And Katrin Feelings is wearing marmalade. That's right, everybody. I made this dress. You know, I wasn't going to do any commissions for this season of Drag Race, but when Katrin did come to me, I thought, you know what? I wanted another Cardiff queen on the show. And so I will support her. If you think I'm going to critique everybody else and then turn around and say my work's perfect, you are dead wrong. So let's get into it. Overall, as an ending point for Katrin, this feels very fitting. It's been so interesting seeing how Katrin's drag has evolved since the show. This sort of feels like the closest to who Katrin is now. I love the shape of the bow around the hip, and I also love the placement of it. You get the lovely shape and grandness of the bow, but while still getting her waist definition. I love the way the skirt fell, and I love the way the slit was cut. I really like the mesh gloves on her. Like I said, an opera-length mesh glove, I'm always gonna like it. And another thing I love is the little cuff around the top of the glove. I think that was a lovely detail. I do wish I had maybe made the breast cups a bit bigger. I think proportion-wise, especially with the proportion of the bow, I think they could have stood out a lot more. There's also a detail on the cup that you can't quite see, so I wish I had made them grander so that was more visible. Something I noticed when she walked, she's not wearing a panty. Maybe that's down to me, maybe I should have made her a matching pink panty. I do wish the gloves came up slightly higher. I'm not sure if that's because I haven't made them long enough or because they need to be pulled up a bit more. I'll say for this outfit, as I've said for some others, this isn't groundbreaking, but for Katrin's presentation on this season, I think it is very much the perfect end to her package. I don't mind a necklace on this outfit, however, I don't like the necklace she's gone with. I think with a look like this, she could have gone for a much grander necklace. And yes, overall, Katrin hasn't reinvented the wheel with this one. I wouldn't say it's the best outfit on the runway. However, for Katrin's package, I think this is her strongest runway to date, and I think it is the perfect way someone like Katrin Feelings would round out this competition. So, Diane Katrin, all of Cardiff is very, very proud of you, as am I. Mwah. Next to the runway, we have Selexa Addiction, and Selexa is wearing an outfit by Synergy Studios, and the construction of this outfit is incredible. That shape above the shoulders right off the bat has been like engineered masterfully. The way it's sort of sitting up here and it like doesn't wobble or move is incredible. And I really love that way that one little bit of it like dips into like the hole that's cut out in the sleeve. It feels like showing off of like what I can do with construction. So fabulous job, Synergy. I really love the colour palette of this. It's not an expected colour palette for a grand finale, but I think that's why I like it. I love the shape of the breast cups. I love that we're not getting a flash of her nipple on this runway. I really love the way like the bodice sort of cuts just above her waist, and then you get the corset coming from underneath that top. It really makes her waist feel even more teeny tiny. I love the way the hip structure mirrors the shoulder structure. I'm not a huge fan of the black fabric on the bottom. Everything from like the knees up feels so like structured and architectural that I would have liked that to continue down, or at least for like the color story and the fabric to continue down. The black sort of frilly fabric sort of just feels like a disconnect from the top. It feels like different outfits, and I don't love the black shoe with it. I wish it was all like monochromatic, like browns and beiges. But overall, this is like masterful construction and incredible work. What a gorgeous, gorgeous piece to own and to have in your drag wardrobe. It feels like such like the final evolution of Selexa, and it is such a gorgeous note to end the competition on. You know, Selexa has had some incredible runways this season, and this is certainly one of them. So, gorgeous job, Selexa. You should be very, very proud. And the final runway of season 7 of RuPaul's Drag Race UK is Elle, and Elle is wearing an outfit by The Drag Room. Something I loved right off the bat is I love that there was rhinestoning done under the tulle. Not a lot of people would think to like rhinestone under like draped tulle, and I love it. I think it just gives underneath the outfit like such dimension, and along with the fact that there are different shades of tulle in the outfit, the bodice just has such depth. I also love like the ombre sort of goes up the gloves as well. Again, I wish the gloves came up a little bit higher, but looking at this photo, they might have just fallen down and just need pulling up. The way the skirt's been constructed is so beautiful. I love that it's not all one length. There's sort of like an asymmetrical tiered effect, which I think is really, really beautiful. It just feels like she's walking on a cloud, and I really enjoy that. The main issue I am having with this dress is the silhouette. It just doesn't feel like a grand finale dress silhouette. I do wish it was like a tight gown to the ground, all in that sort of swirled effect, and then this tulle skirt was instead a bustle on the backside of the hips, sort of trailing behind her. I think for Elle that would have felt like more of like a grand finale silhouette. The hair also feels a little bit regular. Elle's had some like really dynamic hairstyles, and this feels just slightly normal. Also, her eye makeup is a very saturated pink, and the rest of the outfit is a very light pink. So I do wish those matched up a little bit more. Maybe she could have benefited from having just like one shade of like a saturated pink tulle running through the dress. But overall, it's a very gorgeous outfit. And even though for me it doesn't feel grand finale, it is such a beautiful quintessential representation of who Elle is and what her drag is, and I really love that. Oh my goodness, and just like that, we are at the end of episode 10 of Behind the Seams, which means we are at the end of the very last episode in this series. Now, I have been reading the comments. A lot of you do want Behind the Seams to continue, and I'm very pleased to announce that we will be continuing. I'm going to take a slight break for the Christmas period. I don't want to oversaturate with loads and loads of videos. What I've really loved about this series is that it's felt very special and personal to me, and I want to keep the series feeling special. So I will be back in the new year reviewing another season of RuPaul's Drag Race. Is it going to be UK? Is it going to be US? Is it going to be Down Under versus the World? Who knows? You will just have to tune in next year when that happens. However, I might pop in to do a few little special episodes here and there. Something I would definitely love to do is the looks from my season of Drag Race UK. But For now, this is the final episode of Behind the Seams, but don't cry too much, I will be back. And I just want to say a massive, massive thank you to all of you who have joined me every week, who have liked the videos, who have shared them, who have commented their opinions. I really, truly appreciate it. It is such a joy for me to know that you are all enjoying this content as much as I enjoy making it. Another person I must give a massive, massive shout out to she is behind the camera just by there. It is my producer and my videographer, Faye. She is my incredible bestie. She has been the one in charge of setting up the camera, setting up the lights, setting up the audio. She finds all the pictures of the runways. She tells me the order that they're in, and she finds out who all the designers are that have made all the outfits. She also dresses the photo frame each week, which I very much appreciate.
Don't pin all that on me.
I'm pinning it on you, Gil. She has been here for every single episode. I quite literally could not have done any of it without her. So thank you, sister. Mwah.
Anytime you slag.
And I think that's everything. Please make sure to get the Behind the Seams calendar for 2026. It is available at youbettermerch.com. I have linked it below, so you can go and get your calendar right now. You can also shop all my other exclusive merch. Also, please make sure to get your tickets to Mom's Spotlight, happening in Manchester on the 23rd of January at Hope Mill Theatre. I'm very much looking forward to it. It is a show like I've never done before, and I'm so excited to bring it to Manchester, so get your tickets. And finally, I would like to say a massive, massive thank you to the cast of Series 7 of RuPaul's Drag Race UK. I quite literally would not have been able to do this series if all of you weren't brave enough and bold enough to present your drag to the world for it to be critiqued, not just by the judges, but by everybody watching at home, including myself. I know firsthand how daunting it is to put out your art, something you care about so much, into the public space for it to be critiqued, just for some 14-year-old on Twitter to say that it isn't fierce. And I know how disheartening that can be. You have all done phenomenally. You have all represented yourself so well, and you should all be so proud of you. So thank you so much. Pasti, Viola, Nyon Bella, Grande, Sally TM, Paige Three, Bonnie and Clyde, Teras Manardi, Selexa Diction, Katrin Feelings, Elle Vosk, and our winner of RuPaul's Drag Race UK Series 7, Bones. I am constantly inspired and in awe of your talent, and I wish you all the best with your post-Drag Race careers. Buckle up, because this is where the fun starts. But that's everything from me. Thank you again so much for watching. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think. And I will not see you next week for episode 11 of Series 7, because that doesn't exist. However, watch this space, keep your eyes peeled, because I'll be back. That was my Alan Carr impression.